Hey everybody, welcome back to the Green Light Podcast. Lauren's quick on it today. That's Lauren.
And that's Jackson.
There you go. And this is the Green Light Podcast. Lauren, tell the people what we do here on the Green Light Podcast.
We read unproduced plays and screenplays by new writers and interview them.
And that is exactly what we're doing today. Yep. Yes.
Today
our script is We're Never Gonna See Heaven by Colin Mattox. Yes, and it's a great script. We're actually about to record that script, and preemptively, I'm going to say, this script is set in New York City. We are going to be doing some light New York accents, maybe.
Yeah.
Just, very light. So don't expect, full-on, hey, Tommy, what are you talking about? So don't expect full-on that. You'll see a slight twinge of that, but we didn't want poor New York accents to take away from the script. So,
and speaking of the script, this is an excerpt of a full-length, 68-page script.
Yes.
So we are doing the first 15 pages.
Yes, and it is a lot of fun. It's a really good script,
We're really excited about it.
Quick, witty dialogue, and we have a great interview coming up for you later with Colin.
Which we have already done.
Yes, that one we have. It's a great time. It's a fun time. Just hanging out with not another Iowan, because we are not from Iowa, but Colin is, and he'll tell you all about that during the interview.
Yeah.
So this intro is going to be a little short, actually. We only have one true detour this week.
Yeah, well, we wanted to, we're reading the 15 pages of the play. It's a little long. There are definitely some monologues in there.
Yep.
And then our interview is a little bit on the longer side, too, so we wanted to keep this intro on the shorter side.
Yep, exactly. And we have also, as a house, been rewatching the Harry Potter films, so that has taken up a lot of our movie-watching time.
Yeah.
We just finished the second one, Chamber of Secrets, last night.
Very good. I believe the longest one.
Yes, I think probably.
Yeah.
They're all well over 2 hours,
yeah.
So none of them are necessarily short. But yes.
Speaking of rewatch, we also just watched Singin' in the Rain for our November Green Lit
That
episode.
Is 100% correct, Lauren.
Yeah, and it was a rewatch for me, first time watch for Jackson.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun. So if you want to check out that episode, we have some drinks, watch the great movie, and give you some discussion and commentary on it. That is on the $5 level on our Patreon.
Yes. So yeah, that one is a lot of fun. As Lauren said, my first time watching it, it was really good. I gush over it. I gush over Cosmo, over the dancing, over everything on that Green Lit episode. And normally I'm the one who handles the movie trivia, but Lauren actually took the reins this time because she has seen the movie many times. So if you want some Singin' in the Rain trivia courtesy of Lauren, go to our Patreon.
Boom.
Do we have any new reviews? Is that what you're looking up?
No.
How dare all of you. If you are listening to this and you haven't reviewed us, shame.
Literally,
shame on you.
What are you doing?
Shame. While you're doing it right now, what else could you... Well, you might be driving. You might be doing many other things while you're doing this. If you're driving, don't review us right now. But actually, you know what? If you're driving, pull that car over to the side of the road. Get on your Apple Podcasts app if you have an iPhone, and you give us a 5-star rating and
If you don't live in
review.
LA, pull into a parking lot because there's definitely parking if you're not in LA.
Yes, true.
Or New York,
true,
I guess.
True. I guess other things, follow us on social media, at TGL_pod on Instagram and Twitter.
At Greenlight Pod on Facebook.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, those are the big things. And check out our other podcast, Who Is That? The Masked Singer podcast, if you like The Masked Singer.
Yes, true. That's a lot of fun.
We have a really big episode coming out this week. Triple elimination.
We do. So
Crazy
that should
town.
actually be out right now.
Yeah, if you're listening to this
as you're
now.
listening to this, finish listening to this, then go head over to Who Is That? We'll have lots of recaps and reactions. Should be a lot of fun.
Link should be in the description. So
yes.
Boom.
Also, we have a third co-host.
Yes,
now.
we do.
They've been very silent. I would consider them more of a producer, actually.
That's true.
A producer
Well, he does
of
have
the
little
show.
headphones on.
He does.
Yeah, so in case you don't know what we're talking about, we actually just posted on social media before this on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, the podcasting sloth.
Yes.
So a little bit of background. Jackson and I have been dating for 6 years. Exactly 6 years yesterday.
Exactly 6 years yesterday. Well,
And
by the
on
time
the
you're hearing,
30th,
by the time
on
you're hearing
November
this,
30th.
it'll be exactly 6 years, 4 days ago.
Yeah, but I always tell Jackson, I really don't need any more stuffed animals.
And I never listen.
He never listens. That's true. So, but he picked out a pretty small one this time around.
I did.
So his name
I
is
half
Bill
listened.
the Podcasting Sloth. Well, it's actually kind of funny because it's really just like a sloth head with arms and legs sticking out of it.
Yeah, really tiny.
With earmuffs on, but we're calling them headphones.
Yes, and they are. They're wireless. So
Boom.
he's really up to date.
Yeah.
But yes, so Bill will be here just
Not
as our
speaking,
producer.
moral support.
Yeah, exactly. Just the show mascot, if you will.
Yeah.
But yes, just so we don't leave, we actually are also having on a guest actor. This is a lot of intro.
Oh, yeah.
But we're having on a guest actor as well, so you will meet him coming up, but we don't want to leave him waiting because we have 15 minutes before we're supposed to be meeting with him to record. So, shall we jump into our singular detour of
We
the week?
shall. So, when we were recording our big old Thanksgiving mega detour thankful episode last week, we were seeing a lot of ads on IMDb for Happiest Season, a brand new Hulu Christmas movie.
Brand spanking new.
With a stacked cast.
Very.
Like Kristen Stewart, Aubrey Plaza, whatever his name is from Schitt's Creek, Dan Levi?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. What's her name? Mackenzie Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Who else was in this movie? There were a lot of people
Alison
in this
Brie.
movie. Alison Brie! Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot Alison Brie.
Yeah.
After watching Glow and Community and everything else she's ever done.
Yes, exactly. I'm trying to see if there's Victor Garber, who you might not whose name you might not recognize, but who you will if you see him. Mary Steenburgen as well, someone you probably won't recognize until you see them. That's the main cast.
Yeah. All right, so I have a log line pulled up for this.
Sweet.
Okay, so first of all, this is a
Oh, sorry about that, folks. We want.
I was like, what is that?
The Alexa wanted to be another co-host on this podcast. Did she hear me?
Yes, she did.
Wow.
Yes, she did.
She is, so yeah.
She's always listening. I hate her.
Exactly.
Anyway, so this is Kristen Stewart and Mackenzie Davis are a couple. And Mackenzie Davis, so her character's name is Harper. Her family does not know that she is gay. Mm-hmm. Anyway, meeting her girlfriend's family for the first time can be tough. Planning to propose at her family's annual Christmas dinner until you realize that they don't even know she's gay is even harder.
Yes.
When Abby, Kristen Stewart, learns that Harper, Mackenzie Davis, has kept their relationship a secret from her family, she begins to question the girlfriend she thought she knew.
Yeah. So basically, a little more back. You might have just said this. I also just woke up from like a 20-minute nap, so I might be a little bit behind. Yeah. But Mackenzie Davis's parents. Mackenzie Davis. What is her name? Harper.
Yeah.
Her parents are very conservative, and her father is also running for mayor of their town. So, this Christmas is sort of a big campaigning time. Yes. So, big on public appearances, a lot of different events happening that their father needs to attend to be in the public light, to get his name out there, etc., etc. So, this is kind of a big deal. But Harper brought Abby, who is Kristen Stewart's character, over to their house for Christmas, just saying that they're roommates. Just bring my family home. My roommate's an orphan. Can she come over here? That's basically kind of their deal.
Abby is very much out to everyone in her life. Her parents are no longer alive.
Correct.
So she
actually is an orphan.
She's not really used to celebrating Christmas. She usually just kind of pet sits for everyone. But she decides to accompany Harper and finds out literally on the way to the house, like they're most of the way there already, that Harper is not out and she will be posing as her roommate.
Yes.
Which is wild.
Which, let's start there, shall we?
Yeah.
That is...
Honestly, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I hated Harper this whole movie.
I think...
She did not redeem herself in my eyes.
I think that is the biggest flaw of this movie, is the fact that it is... Harper has... Not that she doesn't have redeeming qualities, because as a person, she's charming. She just does a lot of things that really, she does pretty much one good thing by the end of the film, and that's eventually telling her parents. After
she's pretty much already been outed by her sister.
Well, and after repeatedly denying, saying no, even when given the opportunity, not revealing
flirting with
that...
her ex-boyfriend from high school as a cover-up, all kinds of stuff.
Yes, so Harper is Kristen Stewart is more our protagonist. But Harper is not a likable character. You just because you actually do, and credit to Kristen Stewart, you really do fall in love with Abby. You definitely.
And I just want her to be happy and valued, and I just don't feel like Harper's doing that.
Correct. And I think, some people criticize Kristen Stewart's acting at times, especially coming from the Twilight movies, but, which is a bit unfair. Sorry, I just kicked things. Which is a bit unfair in my mind, but I think this movie helped her play to her strengths.
Yeah, no, she's very good at specifically this.
Yes, specifically playing the not outed girlfriend, fairly awkward. Still,
well, no, she is out.
Well, but I guess not outed together with.
Oh, okay.
You get what I'm saying.
Yes.
Like her and Harper have not revealed.
What we're saying
together.
is that Kristen Stewart is very good at playing a lesbian.
Yeah.
That is
that's the moral of the story
period.
Here.
She's a queen.
Yes, exactly. She's great. The whole cast is great. However, there are a couple things I want to talk about.
Okay.
I guess while we're talking about Abby, Kristen Stewart's character, let's talk about Aubrey Plaza as Riley, who definitely is one of two characters in my mind who stole the show. One of three characters in my mind who stole the show. She was great. She played a different role than I have seen her before.
She was Riley, so she was Harper's first girlfriend, ex-girlfriend. She was kind of her best friend growing up, and their relationship fell apart because, Harper basically... Okay, someone found a love letter that Riley had written to Harper.
Yeah.
And Harper basically threw Riley under the bus and outed her without outing herself. Said that Riley was obsessed with her and was gay.
Harper has a history of doing these things.
Yeah. So, like, really crappy thing to do.
Excuse me.
Yeah, but anyway, it's just like, because Abby, so much of the movie, she isn't really able to be around the family. They're all doing things without her. She ends up kind of finding a little bit of comfort in Riley,
haven,
just like as having someone to hang out with, as someone who knows that she's gay.
Yeah. Very comfortable
just
with
like
it.
Not having to pretend, I guess.
And Riley very much recognizing, are you sure Abby is out to everyone?
Yeah, well, not to the family because Harper didn't tell them, but she's in her normal life, she's out to everyone.
Well, yes, in her normal life.
That's what I meant.
But not out to the family.
No.
That's what I was saying earlier.
No, she's not out to the family.
Yes, that's what I was saying earlier. Sorry.
Well, yeah, no. They think that she just had a recent breakup, and then when John shows up, he's like, "Oh, I'm the boyfriend. I came to get her back." John Stan Levy.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yes, you're right. But yes, Riley, Aubrey Plaza's character, recognizes in
the
Abby
situation that she went
through pretty clearly. And so they sort of develop a relationship. It never really, in my mind, ever got to the, of course everyone wants them to end up together.
It never
they look
got
great
to
together.
It was never at a point where like she was cheating on Harper with Riley though.
And truly not even close.
No,
in
not
my
even
mind.
Close.
Like it was a very respectful
friend
relationship
kind of thing.
Yeah.
They kept their distance.
That maybe could have developed and maybe we all would have liked to seen. I know
Yes.
I would have liked to seen that.
too.
That would have been very nice. But once again, this is Aubrey Plaza playing a very different role than what we have seen her before. I've seen her in, obviously, Parks and Rec is probably the thing most people have seen her in. I've seen her in Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates.
Yeah.
I have seen her in Safety Not Guaranteed.
I've seen her in Ingrid Goes West.
Yes. So, but she's mature in this.
She's very charismatic in this in a way that she's not in most of the other stuff that she does.
She's not.
She's like very weird in most of the things that she does.
Yeah, she's either like super awkward, super Parks and Rec, Aubrey Plaza,
like kind of goth.
Yeah, but in this, she's a grown adult. She's like a doctor at Johns Hopkins. She is refined and she is very comfortable and confident in who she is, and she's great. She is great. So if you don't want to fall in love with Aubrey Plaza and Kristen Stewart as a couple and individually, don't watch this movie.
I'm trying to come up with a good Riley Abby couple name.
Rabby.
Rabby? I like it.
Abley.
Yeah.
It's kind of if you put the first part of Abby and the last part of Riley, it's still just Abby.
Yeah.
So it's got to be Rabby. Rabby?
Or Rileby.
Yeah, I think we're going to go Rabby.
Okay.
But one other person that I want to highlight is the Mary Holland, who is one of the writers of this, who also plays the character of Jane.
Oh my gosh, how did I forget about Jane?
Yes, so Harper, who is Mackenzie Davis, Let me find. Sloane, played by Alison Brie, and Jane, played by Mary Holland, are three sisters.
Yes.
You know, Harper and Sloane kind of have always been competing to be like best sister in the eyes of their parents.
The favorite daughter.
Yes,
yeah.
always fighting for their affection. And Jane's kind of the weird one.
Jane's always been left out.
Not even kind of. Jane is the weird one.
The parents straight up say, like, we gave up on Jane pretty early.
Correct. So, but Jane, she is so funny. She is one of the two main sources of comedic relief that we get in this film. The other being John, played by Dan Levy, who is great, who is fantastic.
Yeah.
Jane, I have never seen her in anything, to my knowledge.
She looks familiar to me. I don't know where I know
she
her
does.
But yeah.
Turns out she was in Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates.
Oh.
Interestingly enough. I don't know if she was a big part, though, because, a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing, she's done a lot of VO stuff, interestingly.
Okay. Cool.
But, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw her more as a writer and as an actor.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, she was outstanding. She was hilarious. She chewed up the scenery. She's a character you can fall in love with, for sure.
Yeah.
Overall, I really liked this film.
I really enjoyed it, except for Harper.
Yeah.
Not that the actor was bad, just that I don't think they did enough to redeem her at the end.
It was, she...
I just feel like I was on Kristen Stewart's side when she was like, I'm done. Yeah. And I just don't think Harper earned her back.
Now, a question for you. Would you rather have seen Harper do more to earn her back, or would you rather have seen Kristen Stewart make the decision that, you know what, no, you apologize, but it's too late. I'm going to continue with my life. Maybe strike up something with Aubrey Plaza's character.
Yep,
maybe
that's what I want.
I think that's fair.
Well,
I think
it's like, that does defeat the holiday rom-com thing, so I understand why they did what they did. Yeah. I just feel like if they wanted to fit in that holiday rom-com bubble, they needed to do more to redeem Harper.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely think they should have done more to redeem
However,
Harper if they
in terms of which characters I would like to see together, obviously I would like to see her with Riley.
And it's like there was sort of towards the end, John, played by Dan Levy, who has sort of been this figure that Kristen Stewart's character can go to in times of need. She could talk things out with. He sort of talked about his coming out moment with his parents and how difficult it was, how
he was,
tough it
kicked
is.
Out of the house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which, once again, is granted, and I feel like the movie was trying to say that, what Harper is feeling is valid. She has...
Which of course it is.
Which of course it is. However, I think something that the movie didn't necessarily recognize, which I wish they would have, and they do it a little bit, but the fact that she ends up with her is kind of, I wish they would have said more that, yes, Harper has a right to feel that way, but also Abby has a right to be with someone who's ready and willing to accept her now.
Yeah, and Abby kind of says that with like John talks about you have to be ready for that coming out moment, right before you open your mouth, you have to understand the potential of what could be coming. Yeah. And Abby was like, okay, I get that, but I need to be with someone who is ready for that.
Well, exactly. And like they mention it, but then, I mean, and of course Harper does tell her parents, but not really through a moment of growth, just through a moment of necessity, because her sister yells it out, you know? I liked a lot of things about this movie. I liked a lot of the humor in this movie. I liked a lot of the characters in this movie. I just wish they would have done a better job with that and with making Harper a more likable character. Yeah. Truthfully.
Yeah, because that's really the big thing is, like, I just don't know if that I saw a lot of growth from Harper.
Yeah. But it's the Christmas season. This is a good, fun Christmas movie. I guess spoiler alert, we kind of did talk about the end.
Yeah, we spoiled a lot of stuff, sorry. You know what was gonna happen.
Sure. This movie, it's good. It's definitely something worth watching. You've probably seen a lot of Christmas movies, a lot of the same Christmas movies over the years. This is a good one to add to your repertoire.
Yeah, it's a new one. And it's also just like, there are just not enough rom-coms, and especially not enough holiday rom-coms that have gay couples. Yeah. So it was just really nice to have that.
For sure. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. That is gonna be our singular detour. We spent some meat on it, so I think that was worth it.
And it's brand new. It came out last week.
Exactly. Spoiler warning. It's too late, but spoiler warning.
Yeah,
Sorry. We may go back in and edit something in where
Put
it's
a
like...
spoiler alert in.
Yeah. But anyways, too bad at this point if you're still listening. Coming up next, we have our script reading of We're Never Gonna See Heaven by Colin Mattox. Don't go away.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Green Light.
Green light?
Oh man, that's something we didn't warn you about.
Yeah,
so
sorry, Kenny.
We are here reading We're Never Gonna See Heaven by Colin Mattox, and we have a special guest actor with us today.
Yes, that we teased on our intro, actually. So now
Yeah.
you're finally going to get to meet him. Kenny Hertling. How are you doing, Kenny?
I'm doing pretty well, folks. Just, moving and grooving, as I like to say. Always keep moving, doing whatever I can. Happy to be here tonight. Well, for me tonight, I know for you folks, it's
Also tonight, it's
just
6:30.
evening-ish.
Yeah, just hit evening for us. So, Kenny, just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do in a couple sentences.
Yeah, so my name's Kenny Hertling. I'm an actor living in Bloomington, Indiana. My day job works with Indiana University. I'm a conduct coordinator for that university. And then whenever I can, I act, I read, I do musical theater if possible. And, on fortunate occasions, I get to hang out with you folks and read a few works that I haven't been introduced to before.
Wow.
So, yeah.
On
Cool.
fortunate occasions. We feel very fortunate to be here with you, Kenny. So,
So we have a kind of crazy connection that we just talked about.
Yes, we do. Kenny, do you want to talk about it, actually?
Yeah, sure thing. So we were just chatting as this all was starting getting to know each other. And they mentioned that they were from North Carolina, and they saw my eyes light up because I'm also from North Carolina. I've been living in Bloomington for just over a year and a half now, and I lived in Raleigh area for a decade of my life. And during that time, worked at such universities such as UNC Chapel Hill, North Carolina Central University, and Jackson happened to be at UNC Chapel Hill while I'd been working there. We didn't cross paths,
Yes.
but it was an interesting connection as well as just being from North Carolina in general.
Yeah. Crazy. It is such a small world.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So, I guess that's enough about us. We're interesting, but I guess that's enough. But I think we can sort of go ahead and jump into this. So yes, as Lauren said, we're going to be reading We're Never Gonna See Heaven by Colin Mattox.
Yeah, so let's do some of these character introductions.
Yes.
So I will be reading stage directions. There is also a character who does not appear in this excerpt since it is an excerpt of a full-length script. Her name is Sister Pat Marie. She is a woman in her 60s who is Puerto Rican.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be reading for the character of Tommy, who is a male in his 20s.
And I will be reading for the character of Boyle, also a male, in his 40s to 50s.
All right, the time is winter, present day, place, St. Rocco's Cathedral, the Bronx. The lights up on a church. We see 4 pews, 2 stage left, 2 stage right with an aisle in the middle. They face downstage. The altar, if it were seen, would be in the house. There is a votive candle rack with some 20 small candles stage left. There is an unseen door upstage left which leads outside and another unseen door downstage right which leads to the back room of the church. It is late at night. Soon we hear the heavy offstage left door open and close. Boyle and Tommy enter. They're low-level mob associates, so they're probably wearing leather jackets. They cross downstage down the aisle. They both take in the space, maybe wander around a bit.
You sure he said the actual church?
Frankie said she helps clean the place at night. You got your piece.
Yeah.
Is it loaded?
Yeah.
Let me see it's loaded.
Tommy takes a gun from his waistband, takes out the clip, shows it to Boyle, and then reloads the gun.
Yeah?
All right. Good.
Tommy returns the gun to his waistband.
What about yours?
I know mine's already loaded. I'm hungry.
You hungry?
I forgot to eat dinner.
You want a sandwich?
You got a sandwich?
No, I don't got one. I was saying for later. You know, there's that All Hours Deli around the corner from Frankie's? Maybe after this, I was saying.
They got roast beef?
Yeah, they got roast beef. It's a deli.
They got the lean roast beef?
I don't know. Probably.
Because I can't do that fatty stuff. Gotta have that lean roast beef.
I bet they got lean roast beef.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good for after.
Good. She ain't here.
She's gonna be.
How do you know?
Frankie don't make mistakes about that kind of thing.
Right.
What's the matter with you?
What? Nothing.
You nervous?
Nah, I'm good.
Oh, I get it.
What?
You're nervous about being in a church.
No, I ain't.
What, you ain't Catholic?
No, I'm Catholic.
Yeah, I could tell you was Catholic.
You can tell?
Your shoulders, you straightened up when we come in. That's Catholic.
I didn't do that.
You did.
No, I don't think I did.
You did it, man. You straightened up, but I get it. When I was a kid, you got smacked if you don't straighten up coming into church. These places make kids out of everyone. It's no big deal.
Sure. Whatever.
Kinda pretty, I think. Weird to be here now for this thing we're doing.
Yeah. You done things before, right?
Yeah, done a lot of things.
Never in a church, right?
Never in a church. Kinda one of those things you didn't really mess with. Priests, nuns.
Yeah, sure.
Can't think of why not, though, what with all the diddling.
The what?
The diddling, you know, handsy priests. Would have thought for sure someone would want a priest dead.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, I think there was one of those in this church. It was news for a minute, but I think they just moved the priest. What was his name? That priest, he touched a bunch of kids.
Healy.
That was it. Yeah. Father Healy. You heard of that?
Yeah, I heard of that.
What's the matter?
What? Nothing.
You're acting funny.
Maybe you're acting funny.
Ah, Christ. You one of them? The kids?
What? No.
Well, it happened in a lot of churches, they're saying. Other priests.
I mean, I don't know. One might have dropped a hand on me once. I don't know. I don't think about it ever. It's just, there's nothing to think about.
I think you would know if it happened to you.
Look, I mean, there was always a priest around the neighborhood. You know that. You're Catholic. I stopped going to church when I was like 14 or something. I don't really remember.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. You know, it's okay. I mean, it's not okay, not okay that it happened, but if it happened, but you know, you shouldn't feel bad about it. If it did happen to you, wouldn't have been your fault.
Yeah, I know it wasn't. Wouldn't have been. You've been doing this a long time, huh?
Shit. Since I was your age.
What was your, first like?
What, you nervous?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I was driving a truck for Frankie yesterday. Now I'm here.
Easier than you think, you know?
Really?
Yeah, you just gotta think of the physical.
The physical?
Your physical movements, right? Just yours. Like, what do you gotta do to shoot someone? Pull a trigger. So you think of your finger. That's it. Just squeezing.
Squeezing, oh. Okay.
My first time, that was a shit show. Some kid, Petey DeFiglia, decides one night he's going to shoot himself full of heroin and rob somebody. He gets himself a shotgun and bursts into this card game. West 43rd Street just happened to be one of Frankie's games. Petey gets out of there with $500 maybe and hightails it back over the bridge. I'd been hanging around some bars down in the kitchen, had a few scraps, so Frankie finds me and asks me to do this thing for him. Says Petey DeFiglia's got $500 on him. You do this thing, you get to keep the $500 he's got, and I give you another $500 on top. I never even seen $1,000 in my life. So I say, sure. Petey lived in Brooklyn, so I gotta borrow my brother-in-law's car, drive out there. Petey hung out in this one pizza place there, so I find him, and as I'm getting there, he gets into a car around the corner. I walk up to the car. I had this old shitty little 38, and I had just put all the rounds through the driver's window. 5 shots. Turns out Petey wasn't even in the driver's seat. He was in the passenger seat. It was a buddy of his or something in the driver's seat. He's dead as Good Friday. Now, I had hit Petey, but only in the shoulder, so he gets out of the car and starts running. I'm chasing after him, trying to reload this 38. Finally, we get to a park, trips over a tree root or something, and that's where I got him. Took the $500 from his pocket and got out of there. Frankie gave me the other $500, and from then on, they had something needed doing. They called me. I shouldn't be talking about this.
Why? What's the matter?
We're in a church. It doesn't feel right. I'm fine, though.
What, you think you're gonna hell boil?
If anyone is, shit, probably.
You serious?
Man, I don't know. I didn't used to care. Guys like me, though, we don't live a long time, know what I'm saying? And I don't do good things. I've never done good things, not regularly anyway. Bad things, real bad things, I've done those my whole life. I've killed 34 people.
Jesus.
Jesus is right. 34 souls I'm responsible for. How many people you need to go to hell? They don't give you a number, they just say don't do it. Now, I'm thinking if what we were taught in these kind of places is true, I'm fucked. I'm on a bullet train headed straight for hell.
You can't really believe that. Heaven and hell? Man, that's just what they told us because it got told to them.
Yeah, but what if it's real? That's all I'm saying. It had to have come from somewhere, right? And worse, I chose to do bad things. I didn't do them for any kind of greater good. I did them for money. And I'm here again. I'm just gonna keep doing bad things until something bad happens to me. It's just who I am.
I don't know, man. I think that you've got what you know, right? Maybe not what you know, but what you feel. And you feel a certain way about certain things, and you're that way for your whole life. Like a compass, right?
Compass?
Yeah, something that points you to where you should go. But it's yours. It's only for you. Everyone's is different. Now, what if something comes along and it sets your compass way off kilter? You're gonna go with what will set your compass right? Even if that's against the church or laws or whatever. It's for you.
But there are some things that you just don't do. Universal like.
When I was a kid in the neighborhood, there was this guy, right? Kinda homeless guy. I don't know his real name. We always called him Bingo. Who knows why. He was just always around. He was outside of the grocery store, the pizza place, the bar, always outside of places. He always wore the same thing, too. He always wore one of those, green, army jackets. Didn't matter what the weather was like, he always wore that jacket. And he always wore one of those fishing hats, that kind of looked like a bucket. And he was kind of creepy looking. He used to say weird things like, you know what a dead body smells like in the heat? Weird shit like that. And nobody ever had a problem with him. He was weird, but He was just Bingo who hung out outside of places. Everybody kind of liked him. He kind of liked everybody. So there was this girl in our neighborhood, Pauline Petrosino. Oh, she was gorgeous, man. All the guys wanted her, and you just knew she was going to go somewhere and be a movie star, a model, something. She was a few years older than me. So when I was about 13 and she was maybe 17, she started seeing these college kids from uptown. You know, rich, yuppie kids. She was getting seen less and less around home. We all figured she'd marry one of them and that would be it. So she came back into the neighborhood one morning. She was barely walking. She had 2 black eyes, teeth missing, split lip. Fell down crying at her mother's stoop. These kids, these college guys had done it to her. Beat the living shit out of her, among other things. So Pauline Petrosino is laying in bed, and what do these yuppies do? They start sniffing around the neighborhood, asking after her. Real scummy. They know where she is and what they done to her. One day they're outside the bar, and who comes up but Bingo. Bingo takes one look at these 2 yuppie pieces of shit, walks into the bar, right past them, comes back out with a pool cue, and cracks it over one of the yuppies' head. Then he kicks the other guy in the balls and uses the broken half of the cue to smash his face in. Had to have hit him like 15 times. Then Bingo drops the cue pieces and walks away. You go down to the neighborhood now, you'll probably see Bingo still hanging out in front of places, and you'll see everyone shake his hand, and you'll see Pauline Petrosino still scarred up, but you won't see any yuppies. Maybe that's not legal justice, but it's justice. We know this nun's name?
Yeah,
Boyle takes a folded picture out of his pocket.
her name is Sister Patricia Marie de la Renta, Puerto Rican. Gave us a picture, too.
Boyle hands the picture to Tommy.
Ah, Christ, she looks familiar. I saw her on the news.
Yeah, bet you did.
Oh, she's the lady who set up that shelter a few blocks from here. Converted a whole warehouse. Made it livable for bums, right?
That's right. Paid for by donations from the parish. Got a district attorney to help her out, too. Community outreach.
Yeah. Someone's trying to buy the place, right?
And now she's kicking up dust over it, yeah.
Shit. How'd she end up on Frankie's bad side?
Who do you think is trying to buy the place from her?
Really?
Frankie wants that warehouse. Wants to turn it into some kind of music venue for yuppie kids coming in from the burbs. Go legit. This Sister Patricia seems none too pleased about Frankie Giordano taking her project from her. And Frankie doesn't like complications. So, here we are.
Jesus. There's something else, too. Something familiar. I swear I know her face from something else.
Tommy hands the picture back to Boyle, who folds it and returns it to his pocket.
So what? We wait?
We wait.
End of excerpt.
Everybody, welcome back to the Green Light
Green Light?
Podcast. You were on it that time, Mark. You were on it. Good job. We are here with our writer of the week, Colin Mattox, who wrote our play that we just read, We're Never Gonna See Heaven. Colin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Absolutely. So also, where are you calling us from, Colin? Because we always like to ask this of our guests.
Yeah, I'm calling from Iowa City, Iowa.
Oh, cool.
Wow,
the
that's
beautiful... new. Yeah, that is it. Okay, right on.
Yeah.
Home to the University of Iowa, although
Mhm.
I did not go there. I just live here. Yeah.
Well, very cool. Are you from Iowa, or is this a recent development of you being there?
I am from Iowa. Originally I've lived in Iowa my whole life.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Well, very good. Yeah, we can check that state off of our Green Light guest map.
Yeah.
Yes,
We definitely.
I'm sure that was real high on your priorities. Like, we got to get an Iowan in here.
Colin, it was number one. So
Yeah.
so now we got a new number one, I guess.
Well, honestly, because this play is set in the Bronx, we've had a lot of New Yorkers, so
Yeah.
it's cool to have someone who's not from New York
Yeah.
or LA.
Oh, right on.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess next, I think the Dakotas are next up on my list of
There you
people. People from
yeah.
either North or South Dakota.
Maybe Alaska.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, but let's jump into it, Colin. So give us your writer origin story. How'd you get started writing?
I was in high school and I was acting in a lot of school plays and shows in the community, and we did a play at my high school that was written by another student, a friend of mine, my theater director at my high school, Bill Myatt. I kind of owe him a lot for kind of fostering me artistically, so to speak. And
Shout out, Bill.
yeah, shout out to Bill. Bill Myatt just retired from my high school. He'd been there like for 40 some years or something like that. Heck of a guy. We performed this play that was written by another student, and Mr. Myatt kind of came to me and said, I think you could also write because you've expressed some interest in that. And I just started working on small stuff after that and took off. And yeah, I've been writing plays ever since. And that's like 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome. Well, where did you get your inspiration for this piece specifically?
I love the work of Martin McDonagh. I love everything that he has done, all of his Irish plays and all of his plays and his films too. In Bruges is one of my favorite films of all
In
time.
Bruges is great.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I kind of took that idea of this. I love, there's something I think it was Bill Hader was talking about his TV show Barry.
We love
love
Barry
Barry.
in this house.
We do.
Oh man, it's so good. And I was listening to an interview with him and he said something like, maybe we do a show about Hitman or a hitman or whatever. And they were like, well, Hitman, it's like a cultural thing in entertainment. They don't really, far more of them exist in like films and TV and plays than they do in real life.
Mhm.
He's like, it's like the job dog catcher. Like it doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
But he says something about that. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of true. It's kind of a very specific thing. Well, I'm a huge true crime nerd. It shows up in my work a lot, and specifically organized crime too. I'm really into, and this whole story that in organized crime, so many of them also have this common thread. So many gangsters have this common thread of being devoutly Catholic or being raised Catholic. So what is that kind of those basic teachings of Catholic morality? How do those kind of evolve as you embark on a career of killing people?
Yeah.
And what does it do when the institution of the church has kind of corrupted your way of thinking and has kind of warped your way of thinking that everybody is bad? Kind of like the character of Tommy is pretty jaded by life based on what has happened to him. And the church is kind of a figurehead for that. And also I'm fascinated by quote unquote good members of the clergy, because it seems like there's so few. I grew up Catholic and I was surrounded by a lot of, I went to Catholic school for the first few years.
Okay.
And I was just constantly surrounded by priests and nuns and stuff. And the character of Sister Pat comes from specifically where I grew up in Davenport, Iowa. There were a lot of nuns who were very big into like social change and social justice and civil reform and stuff like that. And would start projects not unlike the kind that Sister Pat starts in the play.
Mm-hmm.
But I always wondered, you think of that and then you think of, at the same time, there's this horrible history of kids being molested by clergy members. And how do those two groups of people kind of coincide? And my thought when all of those cases of children being abused came out, I'm like, the nuns had to know something.
Yeah.
So it's kind of came out of all of that, those ideas and bringing those together. And it's gone through many different iterations and it might go through more yet. I don't know, but, yeah, that's kind of how the genesis of what it was. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So for everyone listening to this, because so we actually cut shortly before Sister Pat comes in, just to keep it down to 2 characters.
Right on.
So for everyone listening, Sister Pat is basically the hit that they're supposed to do. And she is a nun who has sort of taken on this project of, I believe it's converting a warehouse into kind of like a homeless shelter. And what was I going to say? Frankie, the kind of mob boss character, is trying to buy this warehouse, which is why she is a hit. But there's also an issue that comes up later where it turns out that she assisted in covering up a priest who was molesting children because she thought that kind of scandal would hurt the chances of, doing this project that she thought would help the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to sort of talk more about just this genre in general. You mentioned how some of the good things that you can do with it and things. I also think it's sort of interesting because of the idea of, this whole trope of even monsters love their mommies, And so, it's this idea of these tough people, these people who kill people for a living, but still at the end of the day, they have someone who they love and they care about. You see this specifically in the character of Tommy, who literally is doing it to help his mother. I think one of the big tropes of this is like The Sopranos, One of our housemates who's a writer talks about how they do so much to make I'm blanking on the
Tony? The main guy?
Yeah. How could I forget Tony? But just how they do so much to make him seem like a good guy, even though he does these bad things. And I think that's a really interesting thing, just as an audience, as a reader, to sort of grapple with and deal with. So I think that is really well done in this piece and in a lot of pieces like this.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll get more into that good versus evil discussion in a bit.
Oh, will we? But yeah, moving on to our next question. So this is like a full-length play that is essentially just a conversation surrounding one crucial event. And we were both impressed that it never felt like slow or redundant. I know I never felt bored at all reading it. So like, what was your motivation? Of course. What was your motivation for making this a full-length piece, and how did you work with pacing for a long work like this?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think generally when I sit down to write something, when it comes to pacing, I think I always just kind of let the energy of whatever I'm working on kind of dictate that, which has ended up biting me later, because I'll often be working on something and think, oh, this thing that I want to happen now happened 10 pages ago or whatever, and I've burned that bridge already, so I can't go backwards. And also, I do think it's important when you're focusing on it's a one act, it is a full length, I guess you could say. I've had some trouble marketing it as such because it's kind of a weird length. It's kind of just a little bit over an hour. So people are like, is it a one act? Is it a full length? But there's no intermission in it. It's all in real time. So I think, and doing that in one set in real time, you do kind of have to find a way to like slowly reveal things about the characters, I think, and not show all your cards at first, is kind of how I tend to look at it. I don't know if that's answering your question.
No, yeah.
So going through a lot of it, I think, was just trying to make sure that nothing felt like it was dragging or, when we're milking this moment for a lot of what it's worth or whatever. And the reality of this kind of thing, and why I love theater and why I love writing and stuff and inventing, is like in the real world, these guys walk into a church, shoot the lady and leave. Like, that's a very short play. That's probably a like 5-page play. And there's no discussion about morality in it. But instead, I thought this whole thing, and also it being set in a church, there's something that the playwright John Patrick Shanley said, who wrote Doubt. He said something like, the practice of actors going into a theater and saying the same lines over and over again, show after show, is kind of the same thing as prayer. So it's not super different from going into a church and watching someone tell a sermon or read a parable, in the case of, his play Doubt. And I thought that was really interesting. So that kind of gave me license also to make the dialogue a bit more heightened. And not as super hyper realistic, I think. So yeah, that's kind of how I took it.
Well, that's awesome. That actually leads really well into my next question. So,
So thank you.
Yeah, well,
I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
well, so I know you said that, obviously the not realistic part of this is just the length of it, the fact that this is a 68-page script instead of a 5-page script. But I actually thought the dialogue felt very naturalistic and easygoing. We've been reading a lot of Annie Baker lately, and she does a really great job of that too, of just, it all feels like something you'd actually say, which isn't always the case. So I thought that was really awesome. But especially hearing that you're not from the Bronx, I thought that was really interesting too, because this play is written, in a little bit of a dialect. So what is your process with writing dialogue, and how did you achieve this?
I think my process with writing dialogue is just always it sounds really, really simple and really obvious, but to just start, because if you just sit down and this is going to make me sound really pretentious, so just bear with me. But I write the first draft of everything I work on my typewriter.
So no going back.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's no going back, but also if you just sit and it works with a computer or a pad or whatever you're working on, but as long as, in my opinion, my experience has been, as long as you sit and just start typing and then just don't stop typing for a while, the dialogue just kind of appears. And then through that process of just being in the room and imagining those people together and what they would say, you as the writer learn more about the characters as you go.
Yeah.
So I think the first draft is just kind of a bit of a, let's just get into the space and work some stuff out. And you kind of have a vague idea of where things are going to go. But I have like a very basic outline when I start a rough draft of something. And then the editing process is fleshing out the ideas you figured out or you discovered in the first draft, kind of. So in terms of the dialogue being like regional, I am a huge fan of just gangster films and television. You talked about The Sopranos. That was my first big pandemic watch of like binge watching. And it's amazing. But I also I love Goodfellas. I love all those kinds of movies, stuff like that. And there is a rhythm to how characters in that world speak. Mm-hmm. I think it's something that it's a message given is a message received. There's a lot of confirming, I think, in the dialogue. And there's something to that. And then I just watch so much of that stuff. I guess I internalize some of the cadences and how they say certain things. And also I probably look like a crazy person when I'm writing because I talk stuff out as I'm typing. So I'm like, hey, Tommy, what are you doing over there or whatever? And then I'm like in the accent or whatever. And it's probably a very, yeah, hey, Tommy, what are you doing? Like, we going to go get, they got roast beef there? Yeah, it's lean. Stuff like that is very, it's also just very fun to me to invent and stuff like that. And I've written plays that are set in my own world in the Midwest, and they just seem, it's like, I think another writer says it's like writing about your own eyeball. Like you're too close to it, and it makes it's a little bit easier to kind of imagine people in faraway lands and kind of discover that. And also, mob history is now like part of our American like mythology in a weird way.
Yeah.
So I think as a writer, it makes sense to fictionalize some of that, but take some inspiration from the real world, so to speak.
Yeah, no, totally.
I really like you calling it mythology. I mean, I've never heard, I guess, kind of mob legends or gangster legends referred to that way, but I really like it. That is our American mythology. That's cool.
That is really cool. So we're going to get into a bit of a spoiler. So for anyone who doesn't want to hear this, I guess fast forward. I mean, you haven't, it's whatever.
We kind of spoiled a lot.
Listen to it, yeah.
Oh well.
So obviously at the end, Boyle has sort of decided to repent and not kill Sister Pat. But Tommy does it anyways because she admitted to covering up the crimes of the priest who molested him as a child. Which character do you tend to side with, Tommy or Boyle?
Oh,
a big one. A big question.
That's a tough one. I don't know. I think there is something to what both of them are saying. There's an idea that if you see a lot of horrible stuff or experience a lot of horrible stuff, or even if you don't, the idea of creating your own kind of versions of right and wrong, which is kind of how I see Tommy's philosophy of it, is like, I know what happened to me was wrong, and I know doing this now is right, because that thing was wrong. And Boyle seems to come from a more, I really think about, in the original versions of the script, it was always Tommy and Boyle together, but the target changed. For a while, it wasn't a nun. It was just a girl, I think, who had done something horrible to the mob boss.
Oh, okay.
And I don't remember what it was, but it was different than a nun. And his big thing was he's an older guy and he's done horrible things for his entire life. And like you said, he now wants to repent because he's spent his entire life essentially killing people for money. And if the religious teachings that that were imparted upon him as a child turn out to be true or real, or if he believes that they are, he is, as I think he says in the play, like he's on a bullet train headed to hell. Like he is, not doing great, so to speak. I don't know who I lean towards. The angry, I think that's one of the cool things about writing is that each character in a piece, some other playwrights have talked about this too, is like one part of your psyche.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you can write accurately for any character if you don't somewhat identify with them on some level.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think with Boyle, it's like, yeah, nobody wants to see an old lady who's a nun get murdered in front of them, even if you're a hardened hitman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also very much empathize with the anger that Tommy has and the frustration and the pain that he feels. And I identify with Sister Pat not wanting to be murdered.
Yeah.
I think me too. I can.
Well,
I
that's
can get
kind of
behind
like,
that.
of course what she did in terms of the cover up was horrible, but then it's also, in a way, you can see a little bit where she's coming from of like, well, I thought that, the good outweighed the bad in terms of not jeopardizing
Yes.
this project,
Yeah. I think that's what all, like, sort of how you mentioned, all of them have their own sense of doing what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
And
Right.
both of them, or all three of them, are fighting for that. And I think that's what a lot of good theater does, is it makes you think about it and it starts a conversation. And it's like, maybe not one of them is fully in the right and not one of them is fully in the wrong.
Yeah.
And so it's just sort of, it starts a conversation, which I think is really great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, another
you.
slight spoiler.
Yeah, so at the end, like we said, even though Boyle seemed ready to repent, he almost snaps out of it, I guess, right at the end, after Sister Pat has been killed. So I feel like his decision to leave the situation and go get a sandwich with Tommy like he originally planned is symbolic of his return to his regular life, in a way, even though this seed for change was kind of planted in him. So talk about your decision to end the script this way and what happens next for Boyle.
Well, I have to ask, did the copy of the script, is this I'm trying to think, because I haven't done edits on this since I sent it to you guys, but I'm trying to think. It does end with, and I haven't taken a look at the script for a while, which I should have done before getting on the phone with you guys, but it ends, he does go with Tommy, but he also, like, he lights the votive candles, so to speak. And I think that means when Boyle leaves this church, in some way, he's going to make sure Tommy kind of pays for this. In my head, it's like he is either going to kill Tommy himself or he's going to report him to the police. Or something like that. I don't think it's over between the two of them.
Interesting.
But I think, and we say it a lot in theater, I remember this being like the main motto in acting classes is you get more with honey than you do with vinegar. So it's this idea of placating Tommy. Oh yeah, let's go get a sandwich. Everything's fine. Everything's cool. We're cool, you and I. And in reality, he's like maybe figuring out what to do with him next, I think. And the votive candles, there's 3 lit at the end for all 3 of the characters.
Cool.
Kind of like help all of us. Like, she's dead. I can't do anything for her anymore. This kid is in a lot of pain, but I might have to deal with him. And then I have to deal with all of this now with myself.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. I really like that. I
Yeah,
think
that's really
super
cool.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, so those are all of our script questions. So now we're gonna ask some questions
Awesome.
about you, Colin.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Sounds good.
they're still somewhat related to the script,
Yeah.
but yeah.
but also about you, Colin. So, so what is your history with the church? Did you grow up in it? And if not, sort of what is your affiliation with or impression of the church?
Yeah, I grew up in the church. I went to Catholic school for the first, I believe, 5 years of my education. And then the Catholic school I attended, Sacred Heart Cathedral School in Davenport, Iowa, closed down. And then I went to public school. But I continued, like my family, we were members of the parish and stuff like that. And we continued to go to Mass until I think I stopped going to Mass when I was like 13 or 14. And that's kind of when I had, I guess, in a very dramatic sense, you could call it like it's a crisis of faith, which is just I stopped believing in God at some point, and I didn't really go back. But there are some things about specifically being raised Catholic that I think stick with you. My entire extended family is Catholic. If we were to go to a funeral or a wedding or something, and it was in a Catholic church, you would see me like probably mouthing along to the prayers and doing the sign of the cross and going up to get communion and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
Some parts of it, yeah, and some parts of it are still very much a part of me. Like I have medals that have saints on them. You know, that was a big thing. That you wear the medallion of Saint Christopher and it protects you when you go on journeys because he's the patron saint of travelers.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is just it's drilled into your brain so much at a young age, it doesn't really ever leave. And you can have as many like intellectual awakenings, but there's still some part of you that is Catholic.
For sure.
My wife is a person of faith, and I'm not. So I understand the positive benefits that come from it. I just don't necessarily adhere to it anymore. I think faith can be a really great thing when expressed positively and expressed for one's like for self-help, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes, it just doesn't, it's not my jam, I guess, is a very simple way to, as I like to say, I don't boogie with Christ.
That is a funny way of saying it.
It disarms people at the very least. I mean, it's not as abrasive as saying I'm an atheist. You know?
Sure.
You know, it's a lot softer. So yeah, but I'm fascinated by like religion in general, I think, and I wanted to set a play, like I said, kind of in or among the clergy, kind of, and also talk about the kind of checkered history. I say checkered like some of it's good of the Catholic Church. It's mostly bad.
Yeah.
It's like a checkerboard where most of the squares are black.
Yeah.
And like maybe 15% are red.
Sure.
Yeah. I think what you said is very strong about, religion being
definitely
used
staying with you,
for staying with you for sure, and just being used in a good way, because I think a lot of times people can weaponize it in a very in a
most
bad
definitely
way. Lauren and I are both religious people, and so we like to focus on those positive aspects of it. The spreading
and I
love
know my dad was raised Catholic and his whole side of the family was Catholic because my family's originally from Pennsylvania, in that kind of northern-ish part of the country, it's definitely a lot of people are Catholic. And then my mom's side of the family is Lutheran, and I grew up Lutheran, still consider myself mostly to be Lutheran. And it's definitely interesting because Lutheran is like, it's the first Protestant church, so it's very, in a lot of ways, it's very close to Catholicism. A lot of the terminology is the same. A lot of the kind of ceremonies are very similar. I think the overall attitude is a little bit different, just in terms of, Catholicism maybe focusing more on the don'ts of religion, and Lutheranism focusing a little bit more on the love and forgiveness aspect of it. Mm-hmm. It definitely does stay with you for sure. Like I still probably know all the little musical interludes in the services.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And there is something positive to be said for the idea of community around it. I mean, I feel like I can pick a similar lapsed Catholic out of a crowd. Be like, I know you. There's something about you that like we're on the same level. But
yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, okay. Yeah, and I wanted to write a piece about religion that is more about the human's response to it and less about the actual like what's the word I'm looking for? The theological like meanings of it.
Sure.
Because, used interchangeably for the theological stuff. I think there's a lot of similarities there. But yeah, more the human aspect. And it certainly can be used for positive. There's certainly love and forgiveness and a positive sense of community to religion that I'm able to see kind of from an outsider perspective now, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I looked up St. Rocco's Cathedral, where this play is set, and did actually find a Church of St. Rocco's in Glen Cove on Long Island, as well as one in Newark, one near Philadelphia, one in Rhode Island, and one in Cleveland. So was the name inspired by an actual church?
Oh, wow. That's really cool. No, it wasn't.
Oh, really? Well, good job then.
See, here I thought you just put all this thought into it, you know?
No, I don't. Oh, man. If people start asking, like, how much, like, researching, how much thought did you put into this? I'm like, you're going to find out real quick. I'm a fraud. No, St. Rocco's the patron saint of dogs. I think specifically think of abused animals as well. You'll find a lot of statues of St. Rocco holding like a dog or something, or holding animals. I think he's patron saint of dogs or patron saint of abused animals, or it could be both. And I kind of, now that I think about it more, it makes a lot of sense. Also, it's just kind of a fun play on names, because Rocco seems like the most mob name you could
For
have.
sure.
Yeah.
For a
next
saint.
to like Vinny, or Tony or something like that. Like, hey, that's my boy Rocco. Like, I feel like that just made sense. And I don't know what it was. I think it's primarily the dog thing. And like Tommy kind of reminds me in a weird way of an abused animal. He's kind of hurt, but still moving on. So it kind of has some resonance there, I suppose. But no, the name was not based on a real place.
Okay.
I love names of Catholic cathedrals, though. I think some of them are really, really insanely long and a real like Our Lady of Perpetual Heavenly Grace or something like that. It's like, how do you fit that on a sweatshirt? Like, if there's a school affiliated with it.
Exactly. Yeah. No. That's so funny. St. Rocco. That really is. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So now we have a segment. You've listened to a few episodes of the show, so you know our Detour segment where we talk about, something that we've watched. We're going to do it a little bit different with you. We're going to ask you your detour for your favorite mob/organized crime movie or TV show.
Ooh, that's really good. It's less mob stuff, but I really love the show Oz, the prison show.
Okay.
That was on HBO in like the 90s. And it's got so many people in it that are pretty famous now that were not very famous at the time. So it's kind of interesting to see. It was like HBO's first like 1 hour long drama.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay.
And since it was on premium cable, they could show a lot more adult stuff like that. But Sopranos is up there. Like I said, Goodfellas is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Goodfellas has to be up there for sure.
Yeah, as is In Bruges, which is a little bit less like explicitly organized crime or gangster, just in that the characters involved happen to be involved in organized crime.
Yeah,
for sure.
So yeah, those. Yeah.
Well, those are some good options for everyone. So if you haven't seen any of those, go out and watch all of them right now.
Oh, man. Right now. You got nothing but time. Just do it.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're actually freshly in lockdown again here in Los Angeles.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
So now we have even more time. And speaking of which, that transitions right into our next question.
Yeah, so we have a couple of rapid fire questions for you, which we've done on a few episodes, but just some kind of short, fun questions for you. So first, do you have a new quarantine hobby?
Woodworking.
Oh,
cool. We moved into a new place, my wife and I, and I built a desk for myself, and I built a guitar rack. And I want to build more. Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome.
You get along well with both of our dads.
Yes, correct, actually. You really would. Well, that's gotta feel really nice, actually. Like, making something especially like a desk that I'm sure you as a writer and just as a human being probably use a lot. And just to know, like, man, I made this with my own 2 hands.
Yeah.
My bare hands.
I'm sitting next to it as we speak, and it is rickety. 'Cause I'm not very good at it. Yeah, it does feel it's very gratifying to make something yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so moving on. So originally we thought you might be from New York, but we know now you're from Iowa. So what do you call like a sub or like a hoagie, or like what is your term for like that sort of sandwich in Iowa?
Oh, that's a good question. It depends on if it's hot or cold for me.
Okay.
Interesting.
A hot sub is a grinder, and a cold sub is a sub.
Okay.
Okay.
And if you make it at home, it's a cold cut.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow. Very specific. I think for me, it's just sub across the board.
Yeah,
Right
it's a sub, and then if I'm around my northern family, every once in a while it's hoagie. But that's
Interesting.
Right on.
Hoagie.
Hoagie to me is that's the bread.
it.
Okay.
Really?
Huh.
Yeah, that's because it's called a hoagie roll, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, a hoagie roll, or like I know because we're originally from North Carolina.
we are.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't know. I feel like there it's just sub roll
Yeah.
for the bread.
Yeah.
Oh,
we're
okay.
simple. We're simple people.
You guys got good barbecue down there, though.
Oh, man.
yeah,
That's
we
like
miss
the big
it.
thing.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
one thing not the one thing, of course. I miss a lot of things about North Carolina, but that's one of the main food things, at least,
That we
I
really
miss.
cannot get out here.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing
guys got-
close to it.
You guys got barbecue and the Avett brothers. That's the most I know about North Carolina.
true.
And you know what? That's two of the best things, I would say.
Yeah. I actually know a couple people that are kind of Avett Brothers adjacent, like I know a couple people who know the Avett Brothers.
Oh, hey.
And, like,
Really?
knew them when they were kids and stuff, yeah.
I'm the biggest Avett Brothers fan.
Oh, wow.
I love
Really?
them.
Wow. I'm just
Yeah.
not into country music really at all, but
That's fair.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, of course, Lauren's family originally from Pittsburgh.
yeah,
so,
that was
like,
kind of
Oh,
drilled
yeah.
into us. They were like, you will not be Southern.
Yeah, well, I went to like 5 to 6 Kenny Chesney concerts when I was in my youth, so I'm a little bit different than Lauren. So,
Yeah, fair enough.
alrighty, so we have one final question for you.
Yeah, so going back to our, sub, hoagie, grinder, cold cut, what is on your ideal one of these sandwiches? What kind of bread, what kind of meat and cheese, what veggies, what sauces?
This is probably the most important question that we're going to ask you.
Yeah.
Ooh, well, if it's just a normal sub, I like Italian stuff, so I will do ham, salami, capicola, or if you watch The Sopranos, gabagool, and provolone cheese, onions, tomatoes, and then I like you guys in North Carolina nor LA have the restaurant chain Jimmy John's, do you?
We do.
Oh, yeah, we do.
In
We
North
do.
you
Carolina,
do?
we do, yeah.
Okay,
I think they have them out here too.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, I don't know why I thought it was just a Midwestern. They're everywhere here. They're
Oh, yeah.
everywhere. I think they're originally based out of somewhere in Illinois, but they have a sandwich called the Italian Nightclub, which is everything I'm describing, and it's just white,
I've had
basic
that.
sub bread, and it's very good. It's ham, and then you got the fatty capicola. It's so good, and then the sauce is just like vinegar and olive oil.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that. I don't know why. I love it. So yeah, that's the perfect sandwich.
That's
Awesome.
good. That is a good choice. Yeah.
All right. Well, those are all the questions we have for you. So thank you so much for coming on. Do you have anything you'd like to plug?
I have like I said earlier, partially inspired by your guys' and this show specifically. We're starting a Midwestern version of a play reading podcast. It's going to be called, it's hopefully launching here in the next couple weeks. It's going to be called The House is Open. We're going to take, each episode is kind of not unlike this, is going to be a reading of a new play, specifically by an Iowan writer. That's kind of the spin we're doing on it. And it's being co-produced by a theater company that I'm on the board for here in Iowa City called Dreamwell Theater.
That's awesome.
And that'll be available on all of your standard podcasting platforms, just like this one. So that's what I got coming down the pike at the moment.
Awesome.
And
That is fantastic.
So the house is open. Check it out in a couple weeks.
Yes, let us
Yeah.
know when that drops, and we can definitely give you a shout out on like our social media pages and everything like that, because that sounds like a good idea. We like that. Especially
Thank you so much. Yeah.
especially the Iowa specific twist to it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
For like local
Yeah, I
playwrights.
don't think enough people know enough Iowans, and we're an okay bunch of people, you know.
well, if you don't know any Iowans, listen to The House is Open, and then you might get to
some.
learn what they're all about. So yeah, thank you so much, Colin. If you want to hear more from Colin, if you want to contact him, if you want to produce this piece, or
Or if you want to read the rest.
or pick his brain about his favorite sandwich toppings, his email will be in our description. So I think that's it. Thanks you so much again for coming on, Colin. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you guys so much. It was very nice.
All right, bye.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.